This is Locked On Bets, the daily betting show that means business from the Locked On Podcast Network. Hosted by Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers, they're dropping fearless picks with an inside edge to put money in your pocket. If there's action, they've got the lock. This is where smart bets start. It's Locked On Bets.
Welcome to the Friday edition of Locked On Bets. We appreciate you making Locked On Bets your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports with you. And Lee, I have good news for you. You know what that is? Today's August 1st. We made it to August. We got through June. We got through July. We got through our first football game last night. We'll get to that in just a little bit. So just want to put that public service announcement out for everybody. Today is August 1st. So we have football next weekend, and then we have real college football coming up later in the month. So I'm sure you're excited before we get to our first pick of the day.
Semi-excited. It's better than being in July. In my family, we had, growing up, my two siblings, my parents' anniversary, everything was during the summer. So I liked it when it was getting close to September, but August is good enough for me. I'm a football guy first and maybe probably UFC second now. But it's exciting that football finally started. We'll discuss the results, what happened last night, and also maybe one of the craziest baseball games I've ever seen in one inning ever.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that Braves-Reds game coming up as we'll recap things. But first, let's begin with the UFC coming up Saturday in Vegas.
They say you'll miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So bet a little, win a lot.
And Lee has been on fire with the UFC picks. UFC Fight Night in Vegas at the Apex coming up on Saturday. Had a selection yesterday, another pick coming up today. And Lee, we will lead off with the UFC.
You know who Piera Rodriguez is, or Caitlin Souza?
I'd be lying to you if I said yes.
Neither do many people. I almost thought about is making this a hidden gem. But I think we're going to go with a bet a little, win a lot. Why do I say that? So a lot of these fights and the odds are based on, and also the matchups, what happens in the last fight. In the last fight, Caitlin Souza, who has more experience, 15-5, maybe a little younger, but like I said, more experience, 2-2 in the UFC. She had a split decision loss to Angela Hill, who's very experienced and well thought of. So on the other side, Piera Rodriguez, who wins a fight, now all of a sudden is a pretty big favorite here. She can strike, she can take you down, but she can't hold you down. So I think that Souza is going to be able to defend here. She is a dog. She has heavy hands, heavy kicks, heavy elbows. I love her gas tank. And I think as long as she doesn't get submitted, which I don't see happening, I think this line was just too much affected by those last results. I mean, Piera Rodriguez is a minus 220 favorite. I mean, that's a lot of lumber to play on a fight, which I think is pretty even. Caitlin Souza's plus 185 here. So you got a Brazilian fighter here in Souza taking on a Venezuelan fighter, Rodriguez. It's so hidden. It's the first fight of the night. Starts at 6 o'clock Eastern. We're going to go with bet a little, win a lot. We win this fight, we're going to be in a nice spot for this card. We're going to go with Caitlin Souza plus the 185. Bet a little, win a lot. You bet $100, you win $185. Go for it.
Yeah, and Lee's been fantastic with the UFC picks since the show has began, and also on his service. So we'll ride that one for UFC Fight Night coming up on Saturday in Las Vegas. And Lee, let's look back at what unfolded last night. Did have a winning night here on the show. 2-1, won our baseball picks, lost the football game. Let's begin with the two baseball games. And you had Ellie De La Cruz over his bases. He went deep. And in case you missed it last night, if you were just watching the football, not paying attention to the baseball, what a wacky game that was in Cincinnati. The Braves trailed the Reds halfway through. The Braves came back, tied the game at 3. And then in the 8th inning, all hell broke loose. Atlanta scored 8 in the top of the 8th, so you figure the game was over at 11-3. But then Cincinnati scored 8 in the bottom of the 8th, tied at 11. The Braves ended up winning in extra innings. But, we discussed before the show, Lee, that if you had Atlanta in that game and they lost an 8-run lead in the 8th inning, that's one where you take a few laps.
You at least take tonight off. Maybe you go get dinner. You don't bet anything for a night, or like I said, you go a lot smaller. That's a tough loss. Unless it was like a T-ball game, I can't remember ever seeing two teams score 8 runs in the same inning. Never in my life. And I've been around a long time. So that's what we're seeing. We thought that the Braves pitching was bad. I mean, the relief pitching giving up 8 runs in an inning, and then to have Cincinnati do it, which their pitching isn't great, but that was just an absolutely crazy inning here. If you you were watching that game and came back in 30 minutes, you had to be absolutely spellbound.
Well, I was looking on my phone, Lee, and while the football game was on, I happened to glance down. So the Braves were up 11-3. I said, oh, wow, they really exploded. Okay. And then a few minutes later, just checked, I think I was checking the Rangers-Mariners game. I happened to see the Braves-Reds score, and it was 11-11. I said, whoa, what just happened here? They had 8 straight guys that reached base in that bottom of, or 8 guys that scored before they recorded an out in the bottom of the 8th inning. But thankfully, if you had the Braves, they won in extra innings. But for our purposes, Elly De La Cruz, he cashed on his over bases. So there's a winner. Kumar Rocker, I had him last night under 4.5 strikeouts at plus money. Rangers lost to the Mariners. Seattle with Eugenio Suarez in the lineup, his first game after getting traded from Arizona. Early on, Rocker had 2 strikeouts through the first 2 innings, but then things kind of became undone, finished with 3. So we'll take that as another winner.
Kind of went the way you thought it would. He might be able to get a few, but eventually the pitch count would get high, and facing a really good lineup. It's crazy how they pull these pitchers so early. You see so many pitchers going 3 1/3, 4 2/3. I mean, when you see a pitcher go 7, 8 innings now, you don't do a double take. You do a triple take. It's that crazy. So I don't like it. I mean, pitch counts of 80 and 90 and be pulled. I think it's just way too early. So great call there. Rodriguez with the home run in the 3rd. We loved it. That was over. He is an absolute stud, and we're right there. I mean, we're at even Steven heading into Friday. All we need is some winners in the UFC and baseball, and we pull out a 5th straight winning week.
Yeah, and the loser last night, unfortunately, was the under in the Lions-Chargers Hall of Fame game. It kind of felt like, Lee, that I know it seems a little dramatic maybe to say that one play changes a whole game, but literally the first play of the game, the Lions take the opening kickoff, they fumble, and the Chargers get it, and they're in great field position, and they end up scoring a touchdown out of the gate. You expect in these games, you say, okay, if someone takes the ball down 70, 80 yards, all right, sustained drive, but you get the ball in plus territory, and it was still 4th down that the Chargers converted on. Trey Lance had that touchdown pass. That one kind of puts you in a hole, and you kind of felt like this isn't going to go your way, even though you still didn't have a crazy high-scoring game.
True, and even on the other side, that Dan Campbell likes to go for it a lot on 4th down, and those things happen. Either one of those things happen, I think really hurt us. Obviously, the first play and then the 4th down, you stop them there, then maybe it's different. And how about Allen, the quarterback for Detroit? Boy, was he bad. I mean, they had a total of 5 turnovers in a game. You don't see that too often in preseason because they usually play it close to the vest. Maybe a fumble here or there, an interception. But, if you thought you were out of it after that first drive, when he threw almost that pick 6, you knew for sure it was over. So sometimes I'd rather lose right away and, I'm paying attention, but you move on. Watching these games in the second half, these preseason games, is absolutely painful.
Yeah, and you know what? Look, it's one game. We move on. There's plenty of games coming up, so it's all fine. Still a winning night at 2-1. Coming up, we have some baseball best bets for Friday. Bobby Witt Jr., we have a prop on him. Also, Giants and the Mets, 2 teams that just met last weekend in San Francisco, and both teams struggling right now. We'll talk about that. And also, our college football win total today, the BYU Cougars Big season in the Big 12 last year. We'll see if they could do it again this season. That is coming up. You're listening to Locked On Bets. Let's say now about Gametime. And Gametime, yep, plenty of baseball. So there's plenty of tickets and plenty of availability for you. And so where do you go? You use Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game time, or maybe it's game day, and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you could splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. And Gametime makes it possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch. And they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Gametime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB. And you know what? If you're around the country listening to the show, there's so many great matchups tonight. You have the Tigers and the Phillies in Philadelphia. Also, if you're in Boston, the Red Sox and the Astros, they've met in the playoffs several times over the years. So that's a pretty good matchup. In Miami, the Yankees are taking on the Marlins. Also, if you're in New York, the Giants and the Mets. So you have a lot of great matchups all around Major League Baseball. And the only place to go to get tickets is Gametime. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We roll on here with Locked On Bets on this Friday. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports. And now we look to Major League Baseball after 3 games on Thursday, a full card on Friday. And the Royals, we'll see after they beat the Braves in extras back on Wednesday. We'll see what they can do tonight with the blowout special.
Oh, boy. Last one out, turn off the lights. This one's a blowout.
He's been amazing this season for the Royals. They go north of the border to face the Blue Jays, and Toronto kind of stubbed their toe a little bit against Baltimore. But Kansas City and Toronto, two teams in blue. And Bobby Witt Jr., what do you like tonight with him, Lee?
Yeah, so facing Kevin Gausman, and you know, we're going to take advantage of bad pitchers. And Gausman is one of these guys that's at best mediocre. How has Witt done against him? Well, just 4 for 12 with a home run and 3 RBIs. Here's something crazy. Usually you think right-handed pitchers do better against right-handed batters. But actually there's a reverse split here. Gausman here does better against lefties. So makes no sense here. So I think Witt's going to be able to take advantage of it. It's a little under the radar, but he is clearly one of the best hitters. And I think he's underpriced, and I think he's going to go on a run. You know, we talked about Ellie yesterday, one of these guys that can carry a team. I think Bobby Witt can carry a team, and I think Witt's about to go on a run here. So let's take him with that good matchup here. We're going to go with a blowout special. Bobby Witt Jr. tonight of the Kansas City Royals over 1.5 bases. Let's see if he gets it done early and often, just like Ellie, one of these guys that can run. If he doesn't hit a home run, hit a ball in the gap or off the wall, get a double.
And you've hit your last 2 player props with Julio Rodriguez a few nights ago, had the homer in the first against the A's, and then Ellie De La Cruz last night. So they've hit. And again, like you say, you don't get singles hitters, you get guys that can stretch them out to doubles, triples, home runs, and Bobby Witt Jr. definitely can do that. So we'll see if that's the case tonight. The Royals trying to see if they go on a run here. They're a game under 500. And if they can figure out a way how to get back in the playoff race in the American League. So we go from that to a National League matchup.
To find a diamond in the rough, you need to dig a little deeper for those hidden gems.
All right, Lee, 2 teams that are coming off a bad series. The Giants, actually off a bad homestand. They got swept by the Mets and the Pirates, now heading out east of the Big Apple to face the Mets. New York got that 3-game sweep of San Francisco, then got swept by San Diego. Juan Soto got banged up in that series, And now they're back home tonight. Robbie Ray on the mound for the Giants, David Peterson on for the Mets. These guys actually faced each other last weekend in San Francisco. It was a 2-1 Mets win. The 2 runs scored by the Mets on a 2-run double with 2 outs in the 6th inning. Robbie Ray was rolling along and just couldn't get out of the inning, and the Giants ended up losing 2-1. So now Ray, a short underdog tonight. With all that being said, we're going to take the Giants' first 5 against the Mets, and they're at about plus 105 tonight, so plus money on the Giants. Now, a couple negative numbers in the Mets here as far as the first 5 innings go. Number one, they have not been good in home openers in the first 5 innings. In fact, the last 11, they've led only 3 times, so 3-7-1. So New York has not been good there. Also, in the last 16 games against left-handed starting pitchers in the first 5 innings, the Mets are 4-11-1. And one of those losses came to the Giants with Robbie Ray when they led. San Francisco was up 1-0 through 5, and the Mets got the 2 runs in the 6th inning last weekend. So the Mets have not been good against lefties. They've not been good in home openers in the first 5. San Francisco, Lee, I always had this thing in all sports, but especially baseball. You're coming off a terrible homestand. I think the best thing to do is get out of town, reset yourself, and I think that's the case tonight. Giants have 2 great pitchers in Logan Webb and Robbie Ray. Ray goes tonight. I think that the Giants will play well, at least early. So let's take them as our hidden gem, first 5 against the Mets.
Love it. I think Robbie Ray is not a pitcher I would ever want to face. So sometimes you get a run or 2 after 6-7 innings if they leave him in. But first 5 innings, he is a tough pitcher to face. It's just I mean, his stuff is just electric, and his placement doesn't walk many guys. So that's going to be tough here for the Mets. So I like it also. Let's see if he can shut him down.
12-4-6 this season for Robbie Ray in the first 5 innings. So he's only trailed 4 times in 22 starts. So we'll see if that keeps up coming up tonight. Up next, we will shift our attention to college football. BYU, the Cougars. We'll see how they do this year in the Big 12 as we'll look ahead to them coming up right here on Locked On Bets. We continue Locked On Bets here on this Friday. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports, and college football. We're a few weeks away from week 0. Looking forward to that as we continue our previews of win totals for different teams. And today we head to the Big 12 with the BYU Cougars.
Open it, open it, open it! Lee has the key to the lock of the day.
So BYU 11-2 last year, Lee, as they continue to be a force in the Big 12 after all the realignment. They were independent for a while and then latched onto a conference, and they've been pretty good. But changed up at quarterback this year. What do you like with BYU?
So you talk about coaches, Kalani Sitake. This is going to be his 10th season here. He's had a couple down years. He had a 4-9 season and then a 5-7 year. 4-9 was all the way back in 2017. 5-7 was in 2023. And then he bounced back last year. I mean, huge year. They go 11-2. Now, I think he's good, but I don't think he's that good. They had every break go their way. You look at numbers. When you see 11-2 team, couple factors. Usually they're good because of takeaways. They were +8 in takeaways. When that happens, very rarely will you see a team even close to that the next year. Usually they're about 0 or sometimes in the negative the next year. Every break went their way. Usually on offense, they have at least 400+ yards. BYU, only 392. I mean, usually you see teams at the 450 range in total yards when they have 10, 11 wins. And then pass rush. Another key factor, I mean, they won a lot of games with defense. How about this? Mostly you see 33, 35, maybe up to 40 sacks from a defense with 10, 11 wins. They had all of 20. So now they got to go into a season where they lost their quarterback. He ends up transferring late to Tulane. And they have 3 guys battling, and I don't think they know who's going to be the starter. So he was fine. He wasn't great. Now they got guys behind him who aren't even close to him. They have a couple nice weapons. L.J. Martin, nice running back. Kid named Chase Roberts, receiver, solid, gets the job done. But they only return a total of 9 starters. And the new guys that are stepping in and also the transfers, I don't see many top-line guys here. Now, on top of that, they won a lot of close games. They won 4 games by 7 points or less, and they're always good at home. I mean, sometimes a team gets behind at home, they rarely come back and have a chance to win a game there. But now they got to play a bunch of teams that are going to be much, much better this year. 3rd game of the year after playing Portland State and Stanford, they've got to go to East Carolina, cross country. Very underrated team that was red hot in the end of last year. Utah will be considerably better. That's an absolute rivalry game. Iowa State will be better. Texas Tech, much better. Maybe the biggest portal team there, with the NIL money. They spent over $28 million. TCU will be better, returning quarterback. Cincy will be better. And UCF, they get their old coach back from a few years ago. They will be better here. The over-under is 8 wins. Here's what Vegas is telling you. They won the conference. All they had to do was win one of the last 2 games, and they blew their last 2 games. They're now a 20-1 underdog to win the Big 12. I think they're going to come back to earth here. Total wins here is 8 wins. We're going to end the week with a level 2 lock. BYU under 8 wins. You got to win 9 wins. That's going to be really tough for this team here. Like the brand, play hard-nosed football, but everyone's going to be looking out for them this year. Under on the BYU wins.
Yeah, they got off to that great start last year, and then things kind of fell apart, losing to Kansas, losing to Arizona State. We saw Arizona State getting to the college football playoff, beat Houston in the finale. And, Portland State out of the gate, Stanford, but, you got to travel to East Carolina, which isn't easy. Colorado's interesting. We'll see what Dion has at quarterback, with Shedeur Sanders gone. But, it's still you know what it is, Lee, this conference, I don't think anybody sticks out, but they're all kind of equally good. Like, anything can happen any week. I always feel like that's the theme with the Big 12.
I think the same thing's going to happen. Like last year, it's going to come down to the last week. I just don't think BYU is going to be there. So, they've had that home field advantage without a quarterback to make plays. Everything went right last year for them. Like I said, every bounce, you would see a fumble and it would bounce. There'd be 4 guys for the other team, right into that one guy that was BYU in the middle of the scrum. So, give them credit. They were able to get it done. But usually after big years from BYU with not top-tier talent, they could be headed for a little bit of a tumble.
Yeah, they had 3 games. They were +3 in turnovers, so that's big. And one of them was against Utah, where they won by a point. So you do the math there. So we'll see what happens to BYU coming up this season. Lee, what is going on? Paramount Sports, big weekend. You mentioned the UFC, but also we have baseball. Football's coming up. So what do you have going on with Paramount Sports?
Well, how about this? For listening, I'm going to give you a little bonus. You want to jump on the UFC. If you go to the website, it is 6 selections, $36. Not going to do this often. If you use coupon code SAVE30, you get 6 selections, $6. So if you haven't been on our UFC, which has won 9 of the last 10 cards, I don't know what you're doing. I mean, it's been free money for us. So strong card again. We rate our selections from 10 to 50 units. We have a very strong 40 to 50 unit max wager. We're 20-8 on those over the last year. That's pretty darn strong. So 6 selections, just $6. When you're checking out in the box, we got the box, put in lower casing, SAVE and the number 30, save 30, no space in between. It'll take it down to $6, 6 selections, $6 for the UFC. Baseball, you get 10 days for $50, 10 days of player pops in the baseball, $50, or you want to combine both together, you get 10 days of both the selections and the player props, 6 to 7 a day, just $77, just one place, ParamountSports.com.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Bets. We appreciate your support, and also the podcast as well. You just want to drive around and listen to the podcast, you can find it on your favorite audio platform. Another big week in the books, and we will have preseason football next week. We had the Hall of Fame game last night, but preseason football starts coming up next Thursday in the NFL, so looking forward to that. And again, a very big week. For Lee Sterling, I am Kevin Rogers. Thank you so much for tuning in to Locked On Bets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.